bold journalism.
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
Exposing lawlessness.
Drew Hernandez, who is ideological.
Finding the truth.
And use the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The
censorship.
woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
Alrighty, America, Drew Hernandez here. You are back on the front lines. We're going to continue this forbidden conversation with the great Stephen MAGA Hulk Davis. Listen, we got to continue with this, man, because people don't want to talk about this stuff. And let's transition. Let's talk about critical race theory, which I like to call critical racist
theory. I like that.
because it's twofold. It's twofold. Here's why. Critical race theory essentially teaches that the hegemonic power in a society, those who are dominant or most populated, you'll hear a lot of professors say this, that's the dominant hegemonic power in the society. And now here in 2022, with critical race theory in the United States, they say it's white people. But critical race theory also teaches is that hegemonic power, or the majority, right, which they say is white supremacists or white people, is so powerful that it can even brainwash minorities in the society as well. Okay, this is what critical race theory teaches. Everybody knows this, and let's unpack that. Okay, because number one, I just want to speak, to white people right now and just say, we don't claim them. I don't believe this
bada
stuff.
boom, bada bam, bam.
I think it's a disgrace to tell a human being. It's like reverse racism. In my opinion, I think it's like a revenge against white people.
It is a revenge racism.
To tell someone that just because you're a majority in a society and the skin color you behold, by default, you're a racist. I think it's evil. I think it's a doctrine of demons, Stephen.
It is a doctrine of demons. I remember this talk that this lady by the name of Ashley Shackelford, right, back in the day. I won't say back in the day, I think it was like 2019 or 2018. She had this seminar, and the name of the seminar was Why White People Are All Racist. Now, one of the things that she said is that white people were taught to be demons. Okay? Now, I don't know how that's helpful for society, you know what I'm saying? Now, this is a black woman.
She sounds like Adolf Hitler.
You know what I'm saying?
Talking about, Jews in the 1930s, doesn't it?
Sounds a little familiar, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you trying to demonize a whole swath of people? That sounds very Hitler-esque, if you ask me. Good. You want to talk about propaganda?
Yeah, dude.
It's unbelievable. And this black woman, this black woman is sitting up there talking about how white people are demons to an all-white crowd, right? To a bunch of self-loathing white liberals, right? Who are sitting there letting themselves be told how they're just because of their skin color, due to the lack of melanin in their skin, that they are demons, right? How despicable and disgusting is that? You want to talk about CRT? As a matter of fact, before I go there, Nicole Hannah-Jones, right? Nicole Hannah-Jones, Miss 1619 Project herself. She said that there's a difference. When this was after Joe Biden said that if you don't know whether you're voting for me or Trump, then you ain't black. She came to his defense and said that there's a difference between racially black and politically black. Oh my God. Goodness gracious. So now racists, now when it comes to skin color, just because you're the right skin color, quote unquote, you're still not the right type of black.
Makes total sense.
You see what I'm saying?
From their perspective.
Of course.
Yeah. That's the CRT.
That's CRT.
That's it.
That's CRT.
That's the CRT.
And they're dividing us. They're further dividing us, and they're putting us in these little sections and little bubbles, especially when it comes to the topic of intersectionality.
Oh, like segregation?
Like
they're bringing it back? Oh my God.
Because Martin Luther King stood for segregation, right? Of course, he taught that. I mean, if Martin Luther King was able to be resurrected and was alive today, he would be pissed.
He'd be pissed.
Are you kidding me? So you're saying like everything I fought for when it comes to equality, I fought for equality, right?
Real progression.
Real progress.
Real progress. Yep.
Okay? I stood next side by side with my brothers and sisters of all different colors and creeds, fighting for equality, fighting for the right to be able to be in these spaces, not black only spaces, and all spaces. I don't want a black-only space. He came from an era of black-only spaces, right? That was segregation, right? That was separate but equal. And now you have these people, these black supremacists in these colleges, universities, talking about these are black-only spaces. They want their black-only spaces. If you don't understand history, if you don't know your history, you are daggone doomed to repeat it. And you see these people repeating it in grand fashion. It's disgusting.
That's exactly where we are, and here's and this is what I want to get into, is it blows my mind when you see all these white leftists that are just told all of this garbage, like, oh, you're the majority, you're the hegemonic power, so therefore you're racist and a white supremacist. And what did we see in 2020? You see all these, these white leftists at these BLM rallies kneeling at the feet of black people and brown people, kissing their feet, like literally worshiping, and it's just like, why are you accepting these lies that are not true? Here's the thing, what I find interesting about white leftists is sometimes I feel like it really is like this superior moral virtue signal where it's like, I don't want to be accused of being a racist, so I'm just going to make it look like I'm not. You know how many black friends I have? It's like, just stop it already. Just be who you are. If you have to prove to someone that you're not a racist, then I don't even know what to think anymore, dude. Like, anyway, Steven, it's just like, I want to talk about this because we do have a lot of white leftists that are like, yes, I'm racist because I'm the majority. My kids are going to be racist because they're the majority. And it's like, none of that is true. No. And here's the thing, though. Here's what's interesting. What you're doing, to my white leftists out there, this is what you're doing. When CRT comes out and says, you know what, you're the hegemonic power, you're the majority, you're the white supremacist, when you come out and say, oh, well, yeah, I am. I gotta denounce this. You're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist. It's like, what? I call these people woke-tards, Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. 100, you need to put that in the daggone dictionary because that is indeed what it is. Like, you're admitting to something that you're not. And a lot of these people, they're not racist. They're just people who are like trying to survive in society without being torn down by the woke mob, right? By the woke virtue signaling mob. But they can't deal with this mob head on, so they think that the best way to go about it is by admitting guilt to their racism, quote unquote, that they don't have. Yeah. It's the most absurd thing. You have these individuals, especially when it comes to these white liberals who adhere to this type of philosophy. It's unbelievable with their white savior complex. They look at the black community as pet projects, instead of people who are equal. I am not a pet project.
Political pawns.
You understand me?
Yeah.
I am not someone's pet project. I am a black man, a proud black man who daggone it can make it on my own based on who I am and what I have to offer to this daggone world. That's why I'm gonna make it. I don't need your charity. I don't need you to put your hand down to me like I'm some sort of person who can't make it without you putting your hand down to me and you need to pull me up and that's the only way I can make it in life. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Let's go in this direction then.
Oh, let's do it.
Because this comes from these like white allies on the left, right? It's just crazy. Like, they believe this garbage. It's like, oh, minorities they just can't do anything for themselves. They need a handout.
Yes.
They need our help. They get all pompous. And it's like, that's what I'm saying, it's like a virtue signal. It's like this moral thing where it's like, I gotta prove I'm not a racist, but I gotta help the poor black and brown people. It's like, what Steven just said, we don't need your help, we can make it ourselves. But listen, this goes back to the point that this CRT garbage makes you a racist.
Yes.
Because now you walk around dictating to black and brown people that they're a bunch of victims that can't do anything for themselves. Dude, I get this all the time. I get called a white supremacist from these white leftists all over Twitter and social media. I know you do too.
Oh, yeah.
These white leftists that try and dictate who I am, what I will or will not be, that I'm a victim, that I can't do anything on my own. You are actually becoming a racist because someone lied to you and said you were racist. It's like, my gosh. My goodness. Like, just stop and think about how ridiculous your mind, just stop and think about how much your mind has truly been warped. Where it's like they don't even have to prove you're racist; they just tell you are, and then you kind of like become one.
I guess I'll be that.
Yeah,
then.
let me just walk around and tell I know you're black, Stephen, but I got to prove I'm not a racist right now, so I got to use my platform to tell you how victimized you are and to help you out, Stephen.
Well, you just proved your own daggone point. You daggone woke-tard. Yes.
Woke-tarded leftist white allies are cringe.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's so cringe when you look at these people and they really don't understand what they're really saying about themselves, right? They're diminishing their own credibility, they're diminishing their own character to try to appear woke, to try to score woke points. And the thing is, there's a lot of black liberals who actually feed into this type of nonsense. It's unbelievable. And it's like one of those situations where here we come, right? The conservatives, and we say, hey, you need to stop this because this is not healthy for America. You're not going to bring us to a good point in America. Your race relations are going down the crapper, right? At this point in time because of your daggone rhetoric. And we're still shouted down. They don't understand the type of damage that they're doing to the United States of America. They don't understand that they are doing a disservice when it comes to white people. They don't know that they're doing a disservice when it comes to black people. They don't know that they're doing a disservice to people in general. They don't understand that these very simple concepts, these very basic concepts, and they really do think that they're helping.
Yeah.
They think that they're helping the conversation, they're helping people like me to say that I'm less than. There was this individual who went to the University of Berkeley, right? And this is when we came to mail-in voting or voter ID and this and that. And this guy went to UC Berkeley. Now, it's very left-wing, left white liberal utopia, okay? And he asked these white liberals, he says, do you think that voter ID is racist? Oh, absolutely, because black people don't know how to find a DMV. They don't know how to get on the internet, you know.
Black people are too stupid to figure it out. They're too poor to figure it out.
Yes, and that's what
it's like, do you hear yourself? Holy crap! Maybe y'all are really racist. Like, damn. You see what I'm saying? Like,
it is unbelievable. And then that guy goes and interviews a bunch of black people and says, do you know where the local DMV is? I'm like, yeah, that's on 51st and 3rd, 54th and 2nd. You're like, well, these people said, these white liberals said that you couldn't find the DMV. And I'm like, what? I can't find the DMV. I can't get on the internet and find out how to get the information. Are you kidding me right now? And that's the thing. You don't understand with your wokeness. You are turning back the hands of time when it comes to the idea of racism. You are keeping it alive. You are giving it freaking CPR every time you open your daggone mouth. Shut your mouth, you woke-tard. Please and thank you, and do America a service.
Yeah, listen. You wanna like stop racism? you wanna stop poor little me, a person of color, from being oppressed? Stop saying I'm oppressed. Stop saying I'm a victim.
Thank you.
Stop saying that, oh, I can't get by in life because white people are gonna bring me down. Just stop saying that, because you're the ones bringing it back. You're the ones that are oppressing people, putting this into the minds of little kids that psychologically warp their minds for the rest of their lives to convince them you are oppressed. You are being attacked by white people. You're never gonna make it. Of course minorities are never gonna make it if you keep telling them this from their freaking birth. It's you people that are doing this. Not the conservatives.
Real. That is real. You're starting at a young age, formulating these young minds, saying that you are a victim. Do you know how terribly damaging that is to a young mind to hear that you are a victim and that you're oppressed and you can't possibly make it without these different systems in place? Do you not understand the amount of damage you are doing to the black community, the very community that you say that you're trying to help? The very community that you say you're trying to help is the very community you're tearing down with your daggone woke-tard liberal nonsense, right? And it does us a disservice. When you're talking to us and you're saying that we can't possibly make it, and that these white people are automatically perpetrators, what do you think that does? That creates a chasm between the two races, automatically. And you're teaching that to young kids. Kids are not born racist. but they're taught to be. And who do you think teaches these young kids to be racist? It's the white liberal, and it's the black liberal, and it's the establishment trying to put a divide between the races and try to create classes so we can have classes of Marxism, and we implement these Marxist ideas that'll further tear down the United States of America. That's a problem. And when we speak out against that, we are the bad guy. We're torn down. We're told that we're the racist. I'm called a white supremacist. You're called a neo-Nazi. How the heck does that work? Lord have mercy.
It's a political weapon. Racism has become a political weapon.
Yes.
And the far left has mobilized it, and they use it, and they slander people with it, and they attack people with it. But let's transition into this direction, because speaking of like white allies and these freaking virtue signaling woke-tards that think they're doing a service to minority communities by telling them they're so oppressed, can you stop it with the diversity hires?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Because here's a take that I don't think a lot of white allies on the left really understand. We've already made it clear we don't need a handout.
Nope.
You and I both like to see black people make it.
Yep.
I like to see brown people make it.
Yes, sir.
I like to see white people make it.
Come on.
But not the wrong ones.
Please,
that
not
suck.
the wrong one.
So when you do a diversity hire, you don't hire someone just because they're black and have zero talent, or just because they're brown and have zero talent, because now you're making all of us look bad.
Yes, indeed. Now, have you heard of that one individual? What's her name? Kamala Harris. Goodness,
Vice President Kamala
Vice President Kamala Harris. She is nothing more than a diversity hire, and you're seeing that in grand fashion with how she's acting when it comes to the political stage, when it comes to foreign affairs, when it comes to a southern border. Goodness, it's absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah.
It is absolutely despicable. And here I gotta say, oh goodness gracious, great. We have a diversity hire, and she's making all black people look bad because they're looking at her like, oh, so that's what happens when we hire a black person?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, like,
it's horrible.
It doesn't make much sense that this is what you're going to do. I want a meritocracy. I want based on your ability that you're going to get hired. I don't care the color of the person who takes care of me if I got shot 5 times in the daggone chest. I want to make sure the person is qualified and competent enough to put me back together and make sure that I survive. When I get into a daggone plane, I don't give a daggone what color the pilot is. All I want to make sure is he takes off safely, he lands safely, and we don't crash. That's all I care about. Goodness gracious, can we get back to a meritocracy as opposed to diversity hires and hiring based on the color of your skin and what gender you are? Are you kidding me right now? How is that going to elevate the United States of America and make us better? How is that going to make us better?
It doesn't. It makes us look bad.
Yes.
Especially minority communities, because I don't want black and brown people getting hired just because of the color of their skin. I mean, if they're good at what they do, then put them in there.
That's it.
If a white guy beats out a black guy at a certain job because he's better than him, that's not racist. That's just life. And it goes across the entire board. But these people make it racist. Like, oh, you didn't hire the black guy because you guys wanted the white guy because it just looks better. It's like, no, maybe he's actually better than the black guy, or vice versa.
Yes.
See,
and that's okay. It's okay. Because I'm not worried about color. I'm not worried about quote unquote representation. I don't care about representation. I care if this person is competent enough to do the daggone job. I was at Cal State Fullerton the other day, a couple Thursdays ago. And I was talking to these people, and I had a poster that said, is systemic racism, or is white privilege real? Or how do we fight white privilege, right? And just debate them in. Just debate them in, because I'm a black guy. They're like, oh, I'm going to say the right things to this young man and score woke points, you know? So I get to talking to them, and it was this Arabic young lady, and we're having a conversation about that, and she was talking about she wants to be represented in the workplace. I was like, so that's what you're worried about. You're worried about representation as opposed to the quality of work of your coworkers, right? So you would rather, if you were a boss, you would rather a diverse coalition of people who didn't know how to do their daggone job as opposed to a bunch of white people who don't look like you, who have nothing in common with you, but can do the daggone work. Are you telling me you would rather have the diversity hires and all that sort of thing, and your business fails as opposed to the white people and your business succeeds, right? And she was like, well, of course, in that situation. I'm just like, goodness gracious, think for yourself. Stop thinking with the daggone racial lens. We talked about that. Yeah. If you look at things through a racial lens, you're going to do yourself a disservice. You're going to do your society a disservice. You're going to do culture a disservice because you're looking at everything through a racial lens. So you got to teach these people, look, it's not about race. Stop looking at everything through a racial lens, racial colored glasses. Look at people's merit. I think this one guy, he was a civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said content of character as opposed to color of skin, but it seems like they're trying to turn back the hands of time and say they'd rather have color of skin as opposed to content of character, which is what we just ran from, what we just fought our way out of. And it doesn't make sense that they want to go backwards in time to institute a thing that it was absolutely terrible, which we got away from in the first place.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
But it does, if it's an agenda.
Ooh.
This is what I want black and brown, this is what I want minorities to pay attention to. Because you're listening to this and it's not adding up. Why? It doesn't make sense. Unless it's an agenda.
Yeah.
Unless the plantation mindset never left.
Yeah.
Unless there's a certain political party that really doesn't want racism to go away. Unless you're still being controlled by a certain entity by race in this country.
And that's the funny thing.
You see what I'm saying?
Because they're saying that us on the right are the racists. But which side is putting out the fires of racism? Which side is starting the fires of racism?
Exactly.
It's not, and this is what I tell people, you know what, take the president's names out of it, take, you know, the R and the D out of it, take all of this stuff, let's break it down to its base. Which side is trying to amend race relations, and which side is trying to start these fires and further divide us? Right? When it comes, which side is talking about racism all the time, nonstop?
They worship it.
Worship
their God
upon the altar of racism.
Yeah.
And which side is saying, hey, let's stop talking about it, because all we're doing is giving it air, we're giving it life, and we need to stop giving it air. We need to stop giving CPR to racism. We need to take a step back and look at people for who we are as human beings. And when you compare it like that, and you take the political parties out the way, you realize there's one side that's dominating the conversation when it comes to racism, that's pushing the racial divide in this country, and it's not us on the right.
And here's the thing, it's like, I don't deny racism exists.
Right.
I've dealt with it, my family has dealt with it, I'm sure you have dealt with it, but it's like, this country is not as racist as it was in like the 1940s, 1950s,
Absolutely.
okay? Because the last time I went to a Denny's, I wasn't rejected service because I'm brown.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But these woketards on the left, they act like that is how this country is functioning right now.
And
it's just simply not true. Listen, they're running out of they're running out of so many cases of racism.
Yes,
racism is so bad that Jussie Smollett has to stage hate crimes. Why?
If racism is so prevalent, why do you have to stage a hate crime so that someone brings a little magnifying glass to the situation? You are running out of instances of racism, so it's such in low supply that you have to create a supply.
Yeah. You gotta stage hoaxes.
You gotta stage and history is replete within the last couple of years, replete of situation after situation. Bubba Wallace, right? And all of NASCAR jumped on board when it came to Bubba Wallace. Everyone walked in solidarity, and he's sitting there crying and everything. Oh, look at him standing up for me. You are blowing this type of situation out of proportion. Okay? And that's what's happening right now. Like you said, it's by design. They need racism because they know that the black community is a very emotional community. So they know that if they say racism and they say they're going to fix it, they're going to fix racism, then guess who's coming to the polls come November? Guess who's coming in droves to fight against the racial ghost that's out there? Now, like you said, there is racism out there. I'm not going to deny that. I've experienced it myself. But America is not a racist country. Are there racists in America? Yes. Are there racists in systems of power? Yes. Does that make America racist? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's call a spade a spade. Let's call it what it is when it comes to the idea of racism. And when it comes, and here's the thing, if you're a white man and you're a racist at this point in time, you are ostracized.
Yeah.
You understand me? So
You're outdated.
You're outdated.
You're weird.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Yes. There's like 5 KKK members
That's how
at this
I always
point.
viewed it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, goodness gracious. You gotta go. And society is in a great way in that regard. So we are making progress. We are going forward. We are moving forward. We are progressing in the right sense, in the right way. Okay, so we need to highlight that and say, you know what, we are getting somewhere with our life. We are going somewhere with this. And we need to stop acting like victims and acting like everyone's trying to hold us down and hold us back when it comes to this topic, if we're gonna get anywhere in the United States of America.
Let's, I wanna bring it into this with our last 5 minutes with
Yes,
you,
sir.
Stephen.
Yes, sir.
If America is so racist, right? If black people are so oppressed, how is it that we are living during a time where America has the most black millionaires? The NFL, the NBA.
Preach.
LeBron James. You see the music industry.
Preach.
You got people like Kanye West is a billionaire.
Billionaire. Oprah,
Jay-Z,
billionaire.
Oprah, Hollywood. There's all these mainstream, black superstars that are balling out of control. But I'm supposed to believe that America just hates black people everywhere you look.
It is so funny.
How do I make sense of this?
You know what? I'm gonna say this real quick when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. When they talk about the diversity. Now, if you want to talk about the NFL and the NBA, that's predominantly black.
Yeah.
So if we want to talk about diversity, are you gonna mean have more white people in the NBA and NFL?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying? Of course not, because it only swings one daggone way. Hypocrites, a lot of them. But you are completely right when it comes to us. There's a lot of black rich individuals. Right? You have and it's funny because you have the Ibram X Kennedys, you have the Angela Davises, you have the Al Sharptons of the world, and they all made their money. And they make their money off the backs of racism. And they know they can make a handsome living off the back of racism. It's really sad that we're in a day and age where we can see examples of blacks succeeding. In all sectors, not just sports, not just entertainment. You have Dr. Ben Carson, you understand me?
Yep.
You have people like Colin Powell, the late Colin Powell. You have all these different political individuals. You have people who are inventors. You have people who are in the tech industry. You have people all across the daggone spectrum.
Clarence
Thomas, yes indeed. Supreme Court Justice, mind you. Mm-hmm. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, but never mind, especially people like him, because he's of the right. He's right-minded. I'll put it like that.
Isn't it funny because they'll come out and say like, oh, he was just put in there because they don't want to look racist. It's like, isn't that what you guys do?
They're doing this right now.
Don't you want diversity? It never ends.
It doesn't. It doesn't end. There's a song in this movie called The Wiz, right? In this movie called The Wiz, and one of the few songs in the beginning, and Michael Jackson sings it. He says, "You can't win, you can't get even, and you can't get out of the game." Right? You can't win, you can't get even, and you can't get out of the game. And that's what it is when it comes to the white liberal. They're saying that as a white liberal, you cannot win. As a white liberal, you cannot get even. And as a white liberal, you cannot get out of the daggone game. And that's how they trap white liberals into this way of thinking to say, hey, you know what? You can't excel, or you can't put out a message that will get you out of this way of thinking, or get you out of the hot seat, or the spotlight, I should say, when it comes to this racist issue. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have white people always be guilty, and we're gonna have black people always be victims, and that's just the way things are gonna be from here on out. And no one's gonna be able to win, but the only people who do win are the ones perpetrating this lie.
Well, there you have it, America. Listen, stop viewing everyone by color and just viewing them as human beings and their God-given worth. They're made in the image of God. That's how I view humans.
Yeah.
People call me a racist and call me all this crazy garbage. I'm like, dude, I'm just a dude that wants to like feed my family, you know, and not live in poverty. That's it, you know. It's like, oh, he's a scary alt-right political operative. It's like, okay, how did we get here? Anyway, Steven, dude, these are the conversations I love to have, man. Thank you for kicking it with me for these 2 episodes, dude. I love you. Where can people follow you and your great work, your socials? Obviously, they know you're here on TPUSA Live every other day, but where can they find you on all your socials?
You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Getter as Real MAGA Hulk, on all those different platforms, and definitely on TPUSA as well.
Awesome. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Drew Hernandez. Thank you for joining this special edition of Frontlines. Some very interesting conversations. This is the forbidden conversation. I love this kind of stuff. And make sure to, wherever you're watching this, to share this video wherever you can or subscribe to the channel. And if you can't find it, then you ain't black. See you guys.
These are the front lines.
What's going on? Welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. This is what we're covering today on TPUSA Live. First, ISIS is calling for more terrorist threats against the West, and the Biden administration, they're saying those student loans, goodbye. They're adding an extension of those student loan forgiveness. Then we'll show you more proof of how the left is trying to infiltrate the church, including how the Duke School of Divinity is saying, get this, God is queer. All right, Kangmin, Lee, and I are going to have a lot to say about that, I know for sure. Then Netflix, CNN Plus, and Disney are tanking. Finally, we'll have another edition of What in the World Wednesday, Jobob's favorite segment, followed by news that Twitter has created a downvote option and what they may mean for censorship. And one last thing, buckle up, people. TPUSA Live from HQ starts right now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. You all right, Jobob? What's going on?
Guys, so everybody knows that my thing here is to screw with John while he's doing his teleprompter thing. And this time I finally almost got him. I said, John, you got a big old green thing in your teeth. He's like, wait, really? Do I really?
Because I'll introduce everybody and then I'll have a response to that. So TPUSA contributor Jobob, TPUSA contributor MAGA Hulk Stephen Davis. So we got Kangmin Lee, TPUSA ambassador, media personality. All right. There's always nonsense going on. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about, John.
When Jobob's around. But I never eat right before the show.
Specifically for that reason?
But I ate right before this show.
Really?
So like that was the reason I believed it. I was like, really? All right, whatever. If it's in there, it's in there. Yeah. I'll just play it off.
Saving it for later.
Yeah, I'll just say it's a tribute
now to serious hardcore news.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. How about this switch? So ISIS.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Oh, man. It's a hard switch.
That's a very, very tough transition, people.
Yes.
Television is hard, especially live television. But it sounds like they're calling for more terrorist attacks against the West. So according to the Jerusalem Post, in an audio recording that they got, ISIS is calling on its supporters. They called on their supporters on Sunday to resume carrying out terrorist attacks in Europe by seizing the opportunity created due to the war in Ukraine. So the leader also told its supporters, follow their path and arm themselves with weapons and carry out further attacks. And so this message comes more than 2 months after President Joe Biden announced that ISIS leader Abdul Rahim was killed in an American Special Forces operation in northwestern Syria. Excuse me.
I just checked on Twitter. Guess who's still on there?
ISIS
and the Taliban and Vladimir Putin. Just throwing that out there.
Man, that makes me radical.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you are more radical than ISIS.
Yeah. Twitter thinks Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, and John Root are more radical than ISIS.
Still, every single time I hear all those names and then me, I'm like, I don't deserve to be. Not even close. But obviously, ISIS has celebrated this war in Ukraine because we were talking about that for so long, especially talking to Jack Posobiec, Human Rights Daily. He breaks this stuff down in such a concise and eloquent way where it's like, well, what happens if Russia invades Ukraine? What does that mean for Taiwan? What does that mean for the Middle East? What does that mean for gas prices and oil and everything? What do you think, Kangmin?
Yeah, I'm not a foreign policy expert, so maybe my point is not valid.
The producers
in the
lied
same
to
way.
me. They said Kangmin is anything
He knows
foreign
everything.
policy.
And biology.
In the same way, I'm not a biologist, so I'm not a biologist, so I can't tell you what a woman is. But I think it's really interesting that all this, it seems like geopolitically, the world is going to flames, and it's going down.
That part.
After we had 4 years of peace. I'm not trying to make it too political, but I just think that when we have weak leadership, that it has disastrous consequences.
Yes.
And what we see, just our culture and institutions of power pushing from the main stage, the world stage, teaching you that men can be women and that men can give birth, and these very absurd things. And then we get banned for asserting that men are not women and they're different. While, like you guys mentioned, ISIS, Taliban, everyone's still on Twitter. The world is watching, and they're seeing the way that the American regime is treating peasants like you and me, and then they're laughing at it, and they're like, well, if this is how they're treating their own citizens, but they're not going to do anything to us, then why not mobilize, and why not use violence, and why not break out war for our own interests?
And you know what happens to those people that think, if they're men, they think they're women, or women that think they're men? ISIS takes them out. Plain and simple. Like you're not really ostracized from society. You're done. You're gone from this world. So if you think just a few tweets are hateful and violent, why don't you actually look at ISIS that's on Twitter? This other thing too, I want to get your take on is the Biden administration's now announcing some massive expansion of their student loan forgiveness program. So there's been so many people in the Biden administration.
You stoked for your refund?
Oh,
I'm getting
man.
we're all getting refunds, right?
Let's
That's how
go.
it works.
That's how apparently.
Right? Because if they're going to cut debt, that means that those of us who were responsible and paid off their student loan debt or had families who worked really hard to pay off college, we all get refunds, right? I'm assuming that's how it works.
Because it was all paid. It was all paid for by fun coupons, right?
Red button coupons,
Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
That grow from trees. Yeah, that's the way it works when it comes to this situation. And it's so sad because you look at this situation, all those who actually paid off our debts when it comes to, let me not say our.
Yeah.
Let me not put myself in that. Who are currently paying off their debts. I mean, it's a slap in the face to all of us who are responsible, right? And take care of our debts as we should. But to all those who, it's okay, we'll pay it off for you. It shows no type of responsibility at all when it comes to the American people. But I'm not surprised when it comes to the most radical president in, I would dare say, history.
And I'll get your response to this. So they're planning to eliminate student debt for roughly 40,000 borrowers, while an additional 3.6 million will see significant forgiveness. And the big thing about this, too, I think Joe Rogan broke it down really well a couple years ago. He said, you're 18 years old. You're signing on the dotted line. You're an adult, and you know what you're getting into. And then now all of a sudden you just think that, because it's not the government taking care of you, it's the taxpayers. Like, this stuff is not free at all. You don't just eliminate that and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, great, it's just off into thin air. Like, that's not the way this stuff works.
But remember, 18-year-olds don't know what they're signing up for, but 5-year-olds can change their gender. Because that totally makes sense, that it's okay to change your gender when you're 5 years old and you have no idea what you're doing. But of course, when you're 18, you have no idea what you're doing, right? It's okay. We have to help people cover their student debt. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And obviously, unfortunately for me, as an Asian, I'm white adjacent, so I probably won't get any of that. Student loan forgiveness money. So that also sucks, because now I'm a white person, because we as Asians do too well academically.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
You are a minority, but you're not the right kind of a minority. Okay? You know what I'm saying?
So we're oppressed, but we're not actually oppressed. So we don't get any benefits of the system that affords minorities.
Student loan debt forgiveness is the least progressive thing the left has ever pushed for. What you're essentially saying is people who have college degrees who, on average, statistically make more money than people in the blue-collar occupations, the left is going to pay off their debts? How elitist is that, right? The left is always prided themselves about taking care of the marginalized.
Yeah.
No, this time we're going to go the people that went to college and statistically make more money. We're going to forgive their loan
debts,
debt,
yeah.
but not the loan debt that the plumber had to take to go to trade school,
Right.
or not the farmer who had to take a loan out for a tractor to plow his fields.
You got it.
They're going to take care of the college people who make more money. This is the least progressive thing the left has ever pushed.
Well, then also too, it goes back to people just feeling entitled. It's like, all right, no, like it's the same thing too. I know we covered a lot of what Colin Kaepernick's trying to do, his new push here to try to get back into the NFL. We covered that on Breakaway this morning. It's like he feels entitled to have a job, and then these people feel entitled to have, college kind of taken care of when it comes to even just getting admittance. And then now with, oh, I know I signed there and I did agree to all this stuff. And there's documentation for that, but I don't know. It's a lot. It's like, so can you just take care of it? It's like you have other people taking care of your debt that you signed up for. That's it. And it's just like, it's always like taking care of certain people at the expense of others.
Which is so insane how personal responsibility and hard work is actually becoming a right-wing value. Even MSNBC had that article where they said the far right's obsession with fitness.
Yes.
And I'm like, what? And that's really, it's just so astounding how our political divide and ideological divide is kind of separating and happening and manifesting in this way.
Steven's so radical.
Clearly.
There's just white supremacy all
coursing
over
through
there.
my veins right now.
But as we switch gears here, we do want to give you a heads up that TPUSA's fearless leader, Charlie Kirk, is going to be on Trinity Broadcast Network show Praise this Thursday. So tomorrow, April 21st. You can watch that episode at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and Jobob, that's 5 p.m. Pacific, in case you're wondering. Only on the world's largest Christian TV network, TVN. This conversation between Charlie and host Tom Newman will focus on gender and identity. You don't want to miss it. Once again, that's this Thursday, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on TBN. All right, something that I'm extremely passionate about, similar Charlie and TBN, is how the left is trying to infiltrate the church.
Oh, yeah.
I know we've talked so much on this show about how they've taken over Hollywood, media, schools, so many aspects of society. So you got to believe church is the next stop. And
Of course.
the other day, I know I saw Steven Crowder was covering it a little bit, and I actually found it around the same time on YouTube. Duke University School of Divinity. They have a divinity pride section, and they had this praise and worship and prayer service with divinity pride, which is so like contradictory to what the Bible actually talks about.
Thank you.
And this is a new celebration with them. So they say things like God is queer. They say things like Mother God, things that are just clearly not biblical. So I took bits and pieces of that, and I'm like, all right, let's show the world this nonsense. So we can check out the reel that I put together for that. I know Charlie Kirk just posted this to his Instagram as well, but check out this nonsense. Want a clear example of how the left and just plain evil is infiltrated the church? Check out Duke School of Divinity. Spoiler alert, they think God's queer.
Good morning, the holy and queer one be with you.
Don't forget the pronouns.
I use she, they pronouns. I am the communications coordinator for Duke Divinity Pride.
Quick thought too, if you're using they, them pronouns, I think that is clearly demonic. If you think you're more than one person, remember hearing things like, I am Legion?
Hear these words from the Mother God who loves us and created us and has called us.
Well, God's clearly our Father. You can't try to manipulate Scripture, try to twist it to fit your worldview, your feelings, and affirm your lifestyle that is clearly ungodly. It doesn't work that way, people. A clear example of that is this.
As I ended one relationship with the God of my childhood, I began another with a deliciously queer God.
It's a gross meal to me.
Deliciously.
Yeah. Deliciously.
Ew. Deliciously.
I could just eat up that God.
Oh my goodness gracious! What was that? It's like you take the worst parodies of this woke nonsense from 10 years ago, and it's mainstream now. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
And you see people like Alex Stein or Cassidy Campo who go to school board meetings and they do a lot of the parodies of a lot of woke people, and it's literally identical. You can't tell if it's satire or not. You can't tell if it's a parody. You can't tell if it's comedy or not because that's how absurd it's gotten.
And then during this service too, I scrubbed through the whole thing. Like it's an hour-long service.
Oh, God bless
I'm
you.
sorry.
God bless. I
John.
stayed up way too late. There's times where like everyone's like, all right, just put your phone away when you're going to sleep, and then I just get down these rabbit holes. Like, look what I just found. And I'm up to like 1:30 in the morning watching this nonsense. And so they have praise and worship. So it's got a contemporary Christian song. And I thought they were going to try to change the lyrics.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, something you'd maybe just hear at just a regular church that has contemporary worship. But you have someone with a jean jacket on that's got a cross that's got the rainbow pride flag on it. And then you have people up here that are just clearly manipulating scripture. And you have things like this, like everybody that came up, they're like, here's a second year Master Divinity student. Here's a third year. Here's someone that is a graduate student here. So like people are going through a divinity program and saying things like this, Jobob, that I want to get your take. They encourage listeners to accept their sexuality.
Oh boy.
And said, according to this Master Divinity student, Tirza Villalegas, you are never called to abandon yourself. Abandoning the self is negating the truth of who you are, and that is always a lie. God is a queer God who loves every part of us.
So, okay, I'm tempted to go down the rabbit hole of queer theory as it relates to critical theory and all that sort of stuff. James Lindsay, if you haven't listened to him on this, is fascinating. The idea of, his words, not mine, queer theory is the gateway to hell, in the fact that queer theory says nothing is anything. Like, this table is not a table. It also could be a car. Who says that it's a table?
Right.
What does that even mean? Right. The second point I'm actually curious about is, we just talked about student loan debt forgiveness. Duke is a private university. It is not cheap by any means. What are these people going to do with this degree? I like genuinely am curious. You can philosophize and theorize about all this crazy nonsense, but at the end of the day, going to school is supposed to lead to some sort of occupation. Where do you go with this? Is there some church out there?
No, they're
that,
going to create gay churches.
Yeah.
There's already some of those churches out there, and it start to become like, well, you picked the wrong cup, Joe.
I know, that's not the TPUSA cup.
I know you haven't gotten a lot of sleep, so you want to wake up.
Yeah, I know, that's the problem.
This show will wake you up with this nonsense.
Oh yeah.
So I saw you reading a book by one of my friends, Lucas Miles, the Christian Left.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you take away from that? And in terms of like the infiltration.
I've gotten into that a little bit. I haven't dove into the entire book because right now I'm reading Fault Lines by Vodi Bakum. It's fantastic. And I think this is another aspect of, obviously there's different aspects of sexuality that's clearly contrary to the way that God made us, what's in the Bible, what's in the scripture, and actually not just saying, hey, I read this little passage and then here's what I'm getting out of it. It's like, no, what is it actually saying in context? And Vodi Bakum breaks down this whole idea of you have social justice that's being pushed right now, and then you have actual biblical justice. People right now, it's going to change with time. If you're going along with social justice, it's going to be like, well, there's not enough black people in the workplace here, or we have to do this, that, and the other thing. But it's like, what does the Word of God say? And like, then we know as Christians, like He's the same yesterday, today, and always. That's never changing. So that's why you hear people like James Lindsay bring up like, well, this could just be a table right here in 2022, but years from now, someone could say it's a bicycle. And then that's what's kind of happening now is like people are deciding like, it's how I feel, and God should be able to catch up to my worldview. And they affirm that because, I might be struggling with this, here's a temptation I might have, or I feel like I'm born this way, and I know it's not really aligned with the Bible, but, just accept me. That's the way our world has to work. That's what they think, and that's how they're going to start churches.
Well, I feel like the Pope even, we talked about this on Monday, right? The Pope coming out and saying that everybody's racist, or like we are a racist people. For now, not to talk geopolitics here, but the Pope then saying, well, immigration systems around the world should be less racist, which they're not. But I don't know, where does it end? Because if you're talking about the Pope, that's the height of religion around the world, getting indoctrinated with the crazy critical race theory nonsense.
Yeah, and this isn't fringe stuff. There was this one pastor on Twitter who posted their pews, and they had a bunch of flags. So they had the pride flag, they had the rainbow flag, they had the transgender flag, they had all these different flags, and then they had a flag with a paw print on it. And I was like, what is this? So I like genuinely asked, like, I don't want, like, I'm actually genuinely asking, like, is this for bestiality? Because why would there be a paw print?
No.
And then they blocked me. And I was like, oh.
Wait, what?
And then so I looked it up.
Wait a minute.
And there's an actual flag that represents like a bear fetish where you fetishize fur and hair. So with people who are more hairy, that's like a sexuality. I'm not making this up. And they're flying this in churches. It's like, it seems fringe, but a lot of these fringe ideologies, the woke virus, it grows like a fungus in the shadows and the dark. We have to expose it because it's not fringe anymore. It's making its way into the mainstream. And the only way it made itself into the mainstream is because we as Christians and conservatives, we looked at it, we scoffed at it, and we're like, whatever, we're not going to talk about it. But we need to. This is why also they're so pissed about Libs of TikTok exposing exactly what they believe. Because they don't want parents to know what they're teaching their children. They don't want people to know because generally America as a whole, they look at things like what they taught at Duke Divinity and a lot of these woke churches, and they're like, that's too much. That's so insane. That's pathologically insane.
And they just want you to affirm it. Too. Like they won't explain it. So just like that, if you're going to reply on Twitter and say, hey, I'm trying to understand this here, they're going to block you right away. And then I guarantee you can figure this stuff out with Duke Divinity in 3 seconds. Explain what you mean by Mother God. Tell us how, like, this whole gender nonsense. Explain that with biblical context. They won't be able to do it. God is queer. You won't be able to point to any sort of passage for that whatsoever. And then even that last person we saw in there, it's like a deliciously queer God. And someone saying like, well, you know, when I was growing up, it just felt like, you know, God was, or Jesus was just like a white, straight, cis male with a beard. And it's like, no one's actually saying that.
This is so crazy right now because everything is so heretical, right, in this day and age. And you look at it and you know, they're saying stuff like, you know, be your true, authentic self and, you know, just, you don't have to change or you don't have to do anything. Well, the Bible calls for you to explicitly die to yourself and pick up your cross and follow him, right? You have to adhere to his precepts. You have to adhere to the Bible, to biblical precepts, if you're going to say that you're a part of the church or part of the Christian church. But they're doing everything antithetical to that, which is, it just goes to show that it's not, it's all about the self. And we always say this, we always talk about this. It's all about pride. It's all about I. But the Bible says pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. So when you look at this type of stuff, you better believe there will be a fall coming and they're not going to like it.
That's why I agree when you're saying like, well, what's going to happen next? This is basically like Sodom and Gomorrah stuff.
Yes.
Like, we make Sodom and Gomorrah look tame. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking because the amount of sexual anarchy and licentiousness pervading in our culture, the amount of babies we're killing every day through abortion. I mean, we make Sodom and Gomorrah look tame, and I don't say that to exaggerate. Like literally, without the blood and reconciliation of Christ, America would have been struck down already.
And also, like, we don't. I know I posted about this a few weeks ago. I don't think we deserve saving either. I feel like there's times where a lot of us feel like we're almost like Noahs of society, where it's like, no, I'm righteous. You know, at least I'm not doing that. You know, like I'm on TPUSA Live telling like that's nonsense. It's like no, like we're not deserving of any sort of saving. Also, like knowing that we're not some sort of like New Zion. Like this place is not like we're not some sort of like God's chosen people. It's like God's chosen land and everything.
We're not.
We're like crazy, right? But that's what people think. Like we're obviously like an open, free, and honest society, and the most prosperous and free society in history of the world. I mean, we're still going through a lot of nonsense where freedoms are being taken away, but more than any time in the history of the world, this is the freest place ever. But that also doesn't mean it's the most righteous place. I think we had a righteousness, and then we're starting to dive into this worldly stuff.
I guess, I don't want to call it a silver lining, but kind of like a, hey, there's some optimism here. It's kind of funny, the people that would go full-blown woke church, everything you can think of is fine. If you do methamphetamine, then that's totally fine with you. That's just a dumb example. The super woke church is also this whole same church that's pushing this anti-racist stuff. And I think the wokest of the woke stuff is going to get stopped and stopped hard by black Southern Baptist pastors.
Oh, yes,
They're not going to put up with any of that stuff.
This is true.
I am a Zim Zur whatever
Pansexual.
minor attracted person. I think a Southern black pastor would be like, no, you're not.
Not in my church. You know what I'm saying?
No, you ain't.
And they can, because they're supposedly these super wokes that are pushing this are like up with black voices and all that crap. So they have to listen to them.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, unlike some of the other churches that are caving to it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we just got to speak out against this kind of stuff too, because I don't want this to be again a aspect of society and culture that we just think, oh, that's just like a few crazy people at Duke Divinity. There's not a lot of people that think that way. We were like that for so many years and decades that we lost schools, we lost our workplaces, we lost media. Hollywood was gone for a long time.
Yeah.
But like there's places where it's just like, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's like such a boomer, and I love my boomers, but it's such a boomer thing where it's like, oh, you know, they'll grow up and the real world will hit them. But it's like, no, they literally shape the real world. They're shaping the world around you. You are indoctrinating these kids with postmodern Marxist nonsense, and then they're going out into the world, they're going out to media companies, they're going out to corporations, and then they're now going to HR departments, and they're forming the policy of how employees interact with each other in the workplace. And then so now you can't even say like, hey, I don't appreciate that you're flying a pride flag when we're literally, our job is to make this product instead of focusing on this intersectional crap. And then you get fired for that. And then so we have to understand that like the real world is shaped and the perception is shaped by people who are in it. And if the people who are in it are saying that, yes, like God is queer and men can be women, then that is what the culture predominantly will say. And so we do have to push back against it, like you said.
And I think we have to understand, the final thing I'll say here is like understand scripture. Just like we tell you to, it's like there's times where you might try to figure out ways to articulate, I know COVID was nonsense, or I know masks don't work, or I know that what they're saying at Duke Divinity is wrong. Like, you got to be able to explain that stuff.
Yes.
And then in order to have conversations too, you talk about men trying to be women, women trying to be men. That's broken down in Deuteronomy. We know in the Gospels that we hear about Father God and throughout the Word. We know this aspect of God being queer. We can easily go to Scripture and refute that. You have to know that. I think that's like goes back to one of my favorite verses is 1 Peter 3:15. Like, always have an explanation for the hope you have and do it in love. We have to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah,
that's very true.
So true.
And then, because at the same time too, that's the best way to love these people.
Yes.
Because we can go out there and be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, it is, but like maybe present it to them in a way and let's like let God do his thing. And because he can do immensely more than any single one of us. Like, he can use us, but boom, here's the truth, and hopefully that works. I don't know.
Hopefully.
So, we're gonna take a quick little break. We got a message from our friends at Patriot Mobile. Then we're gonna be back talking about the blow up of media, CNN Plus, and the rest of Disney Plus, and these woke networks. They're going down.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now, more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies who fight for our rights and our beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to our causes, and with your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got TPUSA contributors Jobob, MAGA Hulk, Stephen Davis. I'm John Rood. Special guest, we got Kangmin Lee, TPUSA ambassador, media personality.
Can we pause and comment on the awesomeness of Kangmin's suit?
I'm saying,
like,
though.
but like every day at America Fest, he was in a new, awesome, fully colored suit.
Right.
And it was like
swagged out.
Where do you even get these?
Different places. I like to shop at Express. This is not sponsored. Express.
Could be,
yeah, Express actually, in my opinion, has very, very good suits. And so
nice.
Do
they have suits in my size?
No, nobody has suits in your size.
Yeah.
Size.
Was that you're just trying to flex on us now?
Yeah.
We get it, bro. You work out, we get it, man.
Got anything for me? No, they would tell you to get out, not because you're black, Stephen.
I think that's exactly what it is. As a matter of fact, I want an audit.
They'd be like, yeah, no offense, sir, but it's not going to work. We don't have enough fabric. Yeah. So can you put like 3 of these together for me?
Yeah, sew them together, call it a day.
We don't have that. But something that's bursting at the seams.
Hey, look at this. Zing.
Netflix, CNN Plus, and Disney Plus. So for the first time in, I think, the last 10 years, over the last decade, Netflix has lost subscribers. They've lost thousands of subscribers, and their shares plunged about 40%.
Dude, 40%?
Yeah. Check that out.
That's a lot.
That's look at that sharp decline.
That was a skyfall right there. And there's been this aspect here of Elon's talked about this. So many people are talking about this on Twitter and social media that these companies, what they're doing, I think there's an aspect of wokeness that isn't working. And we do need to get into the aspect of like they're spending billions of dollars on original programming. There's Elon that said the woke mind virus is making Netflix unwatchable.
Truth.
So there definitely is that aspect. They've gone unbelievably woke,
Yeah.
and people are done with it. I think there's more places like CNN Plus and Disney Plus that we're going to get into why people are tuning out. But like they're spending billions of dollars on original programming, and a lot of times too, it's just like, well, maybe I just want to watch like reruns of Seinfeld or The Office or little things like that, and that's what I'm going to binge on. You don't need to spend tens of millions of dollars on the top actors, and then I'm going to go to Netflix for that. It just doesn't seem like it makes too much sense.
Well, I feel like, especially with Netflix, it's okay to tell the story how the story is. If you're going to go and do like a historical piece, make sure it's accurate. You don't need to like randomly insert somebody who didn't fit in there, but you're trying to meet a diversity quota or a wokeness quota.
Who can we make gay?
Who can, like, how many like wheelchaired, I don't know, black people can we put in this basketball movie? Like I don't know, it's just like it's okay to tell the story how it is.
Yes.
And again, I'm not against people, being it like the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs thing. Like I'm not against dwarf actors. Nobody is.
Right.
But if that's in the story, go ahead and tell the story how it is. There's no need to wokeify everything, Netflix.
Yeah, because we had Dylan Postal on talking about that, where it's like, man, this is a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Peter Dinklage is trying to throw it away.
Yeah.
Like just for his own clout at the expense of them. Like someone like Dylan's like, this is the greatest job I could ever have and dreamed about.
Yeah.
And now it's just like it's gone because it's like hurting this community or minority group. And it's like, no, you literally have people from that group that are saying, I'm not offended and I actually really want this job.
Yeah, and it's like you can see that a lot of these original programming, a lot of these original shows and movies from Netflix and all of these woke companies, they start with a political message. They start with an agenda, and then they shape the story around it. Versus before, and for eons past, throughout human history, all good stories came from the heart, in that it was about something that resonated with us deeply, and so it came out naturally, and they had their creativity flowing, and their stories flowed from that, and then all the good messaging about and themes about family, power, honor, glory, things like that, all came from just a good story, because that's what makes a good story. But they didn't have to force those political messages down your throat. As versus now, it's like, I mean, there's a new commercial, there's a new show on Netflix, a Netflix original, a Japanese one called He's Expecting. So it's about a man.
Seen that.
Yeah, it's about a man.
Poster of that.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at
about
that
getting.
poster,
Yeah,
Steven.
there it is. There it is.
There you have it.
Oh wait, that's real? No, like I
Look
saw
at
it on
it's intimate,
Instagram.
emotional drama.
Yeah, and it's about a Japanese man who gets pregnant, and it's basically just about exploring this idea of like, what if men got pregnant, and then as a result, they're trying to like completely destroy gender roles. And here's the problem that I have with that is like, not only is that insane and it's never ever going to happen, but gender roles exist because men and women are different.
Thank you.
And that's okay. And obviously there are exceptions. And of course, if you're an exception to that rule, it's okay. You're not any less of a human being.
Yeah.
But these roles exist because we are different in our biology, in our psychology, emotionally, spiritually. We are different. We are called to complement one another beautifully and powerfully. The reason why they're trying to blur this distinction and pit men and women against each other and just completely get rid of the distinction is because the complementarian bond that we have as men and women is so powerful, and our elites know that. Strong families are so powerful. Elites don't want that. And this is why they keep pushing all this nonsense, because all they want is full control over us, our minds, our bodies, and everything that we do.
And that's another thing too. I know we just talked about how the left is trying to infiltrate the church, but if you want to see a great example of the family and how you should be in relationships, you go there. And you talk about the idea of actually making sure that people are feeling value and worth and equality. It's right there in the Word of God.
Yeah.
I mean, you even talk about like a lot of people just don't know even like the lineage in the Bible. Like women being a part of that lineage didn't happen anywhere else. They were less than. They would not be a part, especially when you're talking about the lineage of Christ. They're in there. And then even talk about the way that the woman at the well, the adulterer, tax collectors, things like that. Like people were actually like treated equally and well. And then right now in society, they want you to feel like, just like you said, it's men versus women. Women, if you feel not empowered enough or you're not making enough money or something like that, it's got to be the men. It's got to be the patriarchy. But then at the same time, it gets into like, well, can you even explain what a man is? And then they don't even know how to do that, Jobob.
Can we talk about CNN Plus?
This is my favorite. I would love to.
I love the fact that this is sucking so bad.
It's imploding. And Chris Wallace is like, I done messed up.
Yes, indeed.
Like, this is not the place that I should have gone. But like, can't say we didn't call it.
We knew this.
People weren't even tuning into regular CNN. The only reason they were tuning in was because it was on the TV at the airport.
Right.
Which, why, by the way? Why is CNN still on TV at the airports?
I think it's off now. I think that contract is over.
Well, it used to be, because CNN used to be, like back in the early 2000s, the 90s, they used to be more of like a left of center type network. And that's why a bunch of airports and a bunch of people carried them, because like, you know, they were at least trying to report what was going on. Then they went off the deep end, and I don't know why in the last 10 years when they've gone off the deep end, the airports have stuck with CNN. So
then this too, Joe, I'll get your take on this. So Warner Brothers and Discovery suspended all external marketing spend for CNN Plus. They've laid off CNN's longtime chief financial officer, and they're weighing what to do with this subscription streaming service because it has roughly 150,000 subscribers. So 150,000, like that's it. That's weak.
I'm scared that there are actually 150,000 people actually subscribe. Like, why you subscribe?
Well, probably because they're like 30 days for free. All right,
I'll try it out. Give it a shot.
So, CNN's parent company is what, AT&T, I think? I think AT&T owns
I'm not
CNN.
sure, actually.
No, I thought it was Warner Brothers, no?
I think Warner Brothers, yeah.
Okay, well, somebody owns CNN. What if Elon Musk bought CNN instead of Twitter? How funny would that be? I'd subscribe to CNN Plus if Elon Musk bought it. He's got the capital, and I bet it's cheaper.
They would have to do a complete overhaul of CNN if that happened. I mean, I mean, from the bottom to the top, which would be him.
Yeah.
But you know, they would have to do a complete overhaul because what they're so beholden to radical leftist ideology that you can't just have. I mean, you can't have Elon Musk, who's all about the free exchange of ideas and putting out the truth, kind of like a Joe Rogan, and have a leftist sphere like CNN putting out nothing but Disney filth and all this other type of foolishness that's not doing anything productive for society. Yeah, you would have to do an overhaul when it comes to CNN. It would just not work.
One more thing I do want to touch on as we're wrapping up this segment is Disney Plus obviously having trouble as well. So we've mentioned that. Real quick too, like what's been some of your guys' favorite Disney shows or just movies in general? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you this in a second.
Oh, there's a lot. I really did like Mulan because I'm Asian.
Jobob.
Motocross.
Motocross.
Which
the original movie?
Yeah, the Disney Channel original movies.
Robin Hood. That dude, fox.
Yeah,
he was a fly fox.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
indeed.
for me, like, I mean, I love like, a Goofy movie. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's what's up.
We just
That's
watched
what's
the
up.
Goofy movie. Powerline, love him.
Dude. That's one of the hottest soundtracks ever.
Yeah.
It's so underrated. But think about all those movies, what they taught you. There's really no nonsense in those movies at all. Like you talk about family, you talk about courage, you talk about pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. Obviously, a lot of it's cheesy, no doubt, but you talk about the family aspect there and fighting for something that you really believe in, your country, your family, and all these things. Yeah. And then now look what's being inserted into Disney. Absolute nonsense. And the kind of like values that used to be instilled in these movies and these shows, which helped, I think, kind of like mold us a little bit. And then now it was trending last night on Twitter saying maybe Disney, and then people fill in the blank there. It's like, maybe Disney, you shouldn't get into this woke nonsense and try to groom kids, and your stock prices wouldn't be falling like they are. We're going to show those Disney stock prices right now. Like, that's going dramatically downhill too. Like, people are tuning out of this. They're not going to the theme parks anymore, Jobob. They're not keeping up with Disney Plus. I got rid of mine. Dave Rubin has, that we just had on the show. People aren't buying into this, and they want to protect their kids, and they don't want to have these executives reimagine tomorrow into this woke dystopia.
That actually is an interesting graph, because that shows an entire year that they've been on the decline, which kind of means to me that, at least right now, it looks like that them getting involved in the Florida law, which they completely misconstrued, obviously mislabeled all of that, but them getting involved in the Florida law seemed like a Hail Mary that didn't work. Yeah. And so it was already going down, they're like, what do we do to stop this? Maybe we should get involved in Florida state politics. Nope.
It's not working. So RIP to CNN Plus, Disney Parks, and Netflix. Yeah. Yikes. But we got a little ad for the Student Action Summit. Definitely an event that you got to go to. You can go to tpusa.com/SAS. Hopefully this gets you pumped up.
Calling all based patriots, meme lords, and conservatives, Student Action Summit is happening 2022, Tampa, Florida, July 22nd through the 24th. You don't want to miss it. You'll make lifelong friends, you'll probably meet your soulmate, and you'll be able to network with the biggest names in the conservative movement. Sign up now on tpusa.com.
Welcome to TPUSA HQ for TPUSA Live. We got Kangmin Lee, Jobob, MAGA Hulk, Stephen Davis. I'm John Root. If you haven't gotten tickets yet for the Student Action Summit, go to tpusa.com/SAS. You can use promo code John. Definitely don't use promo code Hulk or Jobob.
You're a bad person.
Or you're not a friend of mine anymore.
Trying to marginalize black voices again.
Again. All right, you had your month, Stephen. Okay? I don't get a month.
We should make like a white people month, like just to like get people so mad.
Troll people.
I know.
That would be
it's like why every single person has a month except white people, and I'm like, why? If we're gonna do it, let's
do it all the way.
I just think we shouldn't have any sort of month, and we should just celebrate each other's differences while accepting that we're all Americans. I mean,
wow,
that's with
concept.
it. I'm with it.
You and
far
I,
right.
you and I should,
far right.
You and I should head that, and then we should have a Jobob in the background, kind of like Jim from The Office, just kind of making these weird faces. Like, are they really pushing that White History Month? Are you sure about that?
I'm super excited for Samoan History Month.
Let's go.
Yes.
Oh, wait, there isn't one of those? Oh, dang it.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Come on, kid. Actually,
there is?
Yeah, our producers are saying there's one in May.
It's AAPI, but then they shoved in the NH, the Native Hawaiian, so it also can, like, Samoan. So
Generic
AAPI.
brown history month.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Generic, squinty-eyed looking people history month.
Can't wait for May. All right. What in the world is going on here? And What in the World Wednesday? We're back. Jobob, your favorite.
Dude,
This is all for you. This is all for you.
Dude, I know you haven't gotten a lot of sleep, but you're going to need to wake up for this one, Jobob.
this sucks so much. This makes me uncomfortable, and I hate it.
Oh, now what's going to make you uncomfortable is professors talking about minors.
Oh, boy.
Get a load of this one.
I don't want to watch this.
You have to, Jobob.
So much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person or MAP in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them.
Well, we all like minor attracted persons, apparently. That's a great acronym. MAPS. That's just fantastic. We're just, see, the left is really good with these euphemisms. They really are. They're really great with these euphemisms. I always talk about Black Lives Matter. BLM, don't you stand for Black Lives Matter? Oh, you mean black supremacy and Marxism? Oh, Antifa, aren't you anti-fascist? Oh, you mean domestic terrorists? Oh, we stand for, you know, I mean, I can go on down the list, but here we go with another one. Minor attracted persons, and they try to make it sound so fluffy and great, but it's disgusting. Not surprised.
Well, did you see the reasoning for it? Well, we like to use minor attracted person because that's what those people like to be called. So, like, what if murderers like to be called life reduction individual? Like, well, are we just going to use that constantly? Like, get out of here. If a pedophile wants to be called a different thing, you don't need to bow to their whims. Jeez.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's so insane because 10 years ago they said that you guys are just overreacting, you guys are just fear-mongering, hateful bigots. And it's like, no, like, we will get to a point when we completely abandon all objective morality and the objective moral framework that undergirded our constitutional republic, which is the Christian ethic. We're going to have people trying to push to normalize pedophilia, which is also what John Money wanted, who's the founder of modern gender theory in America. But that's exactly what they're doing, and then they'll tell us, they'll gaslight us like crazy, saying you're overreacting. Well, 10 years ago, the idea that we should chemically castrate children was absolutely absurd. Now it's mainstream, and then back then they're saying, "Oh, you're just overreacting." We're not overreacting because this is what they're teaching in college campuses and in high schools and even elementary schools across the country.
That's like going back to what I said earlier. Like, we have to attack this stuff right now. Like, we can't wait. Like, we know this stuff is absolute nonsense, but we got to fight it with truth and make sure these kind of people are not in the classrooms either. Like, there are so many times where parents like don't even trust teachers at all. And like now, like, what if you send your kids to school? They're spending more time with the teacher than they are with their parents a lot of the time because they trust the teachers. And then if you're going to hear things like this, it's just, it might not make a huge impact right then and there. It might not click, but maybe down the road, you know, they're just planting seeds.
That's it.
And they know that for sure. And they've been doing that for a long time. And that's where it's like, we have to attack this now. And that's what I just don't understand is like how you can have power over a minor and say like, oh, they were probably a willing participant. These young kids had no idea what they're doing and what they're being taught a lot of the time. There's times where we look back and I was like, dude, I was making dumb decisions at 18.
Come on.
I couldn't imagine it. Like,
I made a dumb decision yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Adults are stupid too. Can you imagine how dumb kids are?
Unbelievable.
But this next one, this is a professor that says we shouldn't assume minor with adult is criminal. We're going to keep going on this one.
What?
Also, if young people are initiating sexual activities with adults or enthusiastically involved, we can't be effective in working with them if we assume that all such relationships start with a predatory or criminally inclined adult.
David's a pedophile.
That's
that's
nasty.
That's all it is. Like, just think of the language he uses right there. It's just like initiated by the minor. There's a responsibility you have as an adult.
Yes.
And it's to not go along with those things and feel like you can have a cop-out because you're going to try to say that minor was not only a willing participant, but initiated that. That's nonsense.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's all about weaponizing language to promote perversion, right? And so this is what they do with women. They can't define women. They can't define men. They can't define sex. They can't define gender. And then if they do define it, it's like it contradicts whatever they just said 5 seconds ago. They can't define racism. They're redefining racism, right, to saying that now you have to have power, which is so absurd. And now they're doing that with language and with children, right? So now they're gonna push like, what is a child? Oh, age is just a outdated social contract. No, they're actually gonna say this. This is exactly what they did with sex and gender. Exactly what they're gonna do with age, so they can justify pedophilia and have it as another sexuality in their intersectional pride charade. And so it's like, at what point do we put our foot down and say stop? Especially because we know the people who are most affected and hurt by a lot of this woke nonsense are children, our most vulnerable society. There are 5-year-olds coming back home especially during the BLM craze in 2020 and asking their mothers, Mom, am I bad? Am I evil for being white? A 5-year-old, like there's no reason why they should be taught that. It's absolutely insane.
Unbelievable.
And this next one too, I guess sometimes we don't look at these videos because we just want to get an organic reaction. This one's just called the mystery video. Jobob should have a good reaction.
Oh, here we go.
3, 2, 1, cannonball! And he is off. Oh, he tried to go the other way. He's actually got a good spread eagle going. And he's
a good spread eagle.
Strong.
He still manages to stay hot.
Oh, that dismount is fantastic.
So 10. I guess that's
I'm holding up a 10 card.
I'm
10
definitely
of
a
10.
10. Yeah, that's a 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. That's why I did all those workouts, baby. Dude, that was fun. That was a couple summers ago. I was on a show called Cannonball. So it was similar to Wipeout. And that was like, I don't know, I think that was like 10 stories high.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm up there, and obviously I started going the wrong way. But at the end there, it's like it hits like a pendulum swing, and if you make it to the end, you have to try to like go as far as you possibly could. That was a heck of a time. And after that dismount, I made it in the top 4.
Wow.
And this was for a $10,000 grand prize. I got the most sick I've ever gotten in my entire life. So I could not compete in the final shooting day with the final 4. It was such a bummer because they had like this 20-story slide too, and then I did this, and then Mike the Miz is from like WWE.
Oh,
and
yes.
It was, for me, it was seriously so fun because you got people there. It's like $10,000 to be sick to win, but more, I was telling people like, dude, they set up an entire water park for us. like you guys are getting so intense. Like, let's have a little drama, but like, you're never gonna have this ever again. You can't go to your local Sunsplash and get this stuff. So like, have a good time. And if like we win. The guy that won, I was so happy for. A guy from SoCal, chiropractor that didn't need the money and ended up donating it.
Oh,
so like I
nice.
thought that was great. But I was bedridden for that entire week.
Oh,
I missed some Sharks games at the time.
This sounds like John Root didn't want to get upstaged by other people.
That's
so
what it was.
Sick.
Fake news. but that was so fun. I also ruptured an eardrum. Ooh. they had a blob there too, and that was a heck of a time. So mystery video, that's what it is. I do want to play another one. This video is D5 for everybody in the back. So parents are now letting their kids tell them what gender they are.
Oh boy.
The most controversial way I teach my kids consent is that they all choose their own gender identity because it's every person's right to be who they are. It's that simple.
It's that simple, Jobob.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
You can't hide
just
from
like
the
Kids
stuff.
are dumb. Stop letting them tell you what to do. Kids are stupid people. I was a stupid person when I was a kid, and there's no fault in that. Why is this the hill that I have to die on, saying that 7-year-olds are not smart individuals? So don't give them responsibilities. This doesn't seem like a radical idea.
I've said this before, that when I was younger, I thought I was a Ninja Turtle. I legit thought I was a Ninja Turtle.
You might be.
I just may be.
I never know. Identity as a Ninja Turtle has been suppressed all of these years. Break out of your shell, Steven.
Or put on my shell. How about
Put
that?
on your shell, Steven. Which one were you?
Oh, Donatello.
Donatello was the
Smart
best.
one, okay?
Donatello was
Yes.
the best Ninja Turtle.
Absolutely.
He's the blue one, right?
You blasphemer. No, he's the purple one.
The purple one.
That's Leonardo.
Who was the, oh, Leonardo.
I'm
Don't
so
make the
upset
Hulk
right now.
angry.
What kind of Asian child were you?
Sorry, I'll check my anti-turtle privilege.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
But I thought I was a legit Ninja Turtle. You know, I took off the broomstick from the broom and used to swing it around and all that, put a little bandana on, thought I was doing something, you know. And my mom had to keep telling me, look, Steven, you are not a Ninja Turtle. You are my son, a human being, right? And it's like, if according to this new woke ideology, my mom was wrong. I should have just lived my true, authentic self and cut off 3 of my fingers or 2 of my fingers because Ninja Turtles have...
Wait, that's what you were trying to do?
I wanted to. I want to be a legit Ninja Turtle, you know what I'm saying? But she didn't let me live my true, authentic self. And now I'm upset.
Oh, that bigot.
That bigot.
What a hateful.
Were you
mother.
actually close to cutting off your fingers?
I was, well, in my mind, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
What, you had the Cutco guy come up to your door? It's like, yes,
I need that. Mom, you have to get these.
These are the sharpest knives ever. It'll work perfect. It would just be a clean cut.
I feel like the big thing is like, yeah, let your kid express themselves and all that sort of stuff, but you have to stop it at some point.
At
and
some point,
your
yeah.
point was cutting off your fingers.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe,
It's a good point.
Yeah, the point of stopping this needs to be way, way sooner than a lot of these super
Yes.
woke parents are.
Well, now it's getting even crazier. You were trying to cut off your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
People were trying to cut off their
Wee wee.
little fingers. Whoa! All right. Time to go to Sebastian Gorka.
Yes.
And then we're back for one last thing.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We're here with the Samoan and Asian Ninja Turtle, and I'm white. I saw this on Twitter last night. I actually ended up just creating a new Twitter. Just so I could
You're done. You're out of
because I was realizing, I'm like, man, I get so much like sports news or like little updates that I'm like, I need to create.
Wait, you couldn't even use it?
Like,
when you're locked out of Twitter, you can't even use it.
Oh no, I can't even get in at all. So like what I had to do
whoa.
is like figure out ways to like sign out and create a new one just so I could get in there because I was like thinking so much, especially getting ready for Breakaway. The sports show that I have here. I was just like, I get so much stuff like during a game.
Yeah.
It just updated right there, even politics and stuff, little pieces of news. It's right there. I need it. And then I saw something pop up on the screen last night, and it said that Twitter is now incorporating a downvote. And we're going to throw that up on the screen, and this intrigued me because in these replies, it says here, you can select a downvote. So a reply that isn't contributing to the conversation. The big thing is downvotes are private.
Yeah.
Your votes aren't public at all and won't be shared with the tweet author or absolutely anyone else other than the Twitter oligarchs over there.
Oh, boy.
So that made me think, maybe this is going to be a justification for more censorship. It's not open.
Makes sense.
It's not like Reddit. It's not like YouTube. It's not like when you go to YouTube and you actually see a President Joe Biden video and there's about 7,000 thumbs down and then maybe about 3 thumbs up. Here on Twitter, it seems like they're going to try to justify censorship because it's like, oh, look at this data that only we know about. All these downvotes, it wasn't contributing to the conversation. It was hateful. It was violent. Boom. Here's why this person's off.
I wonder if they think that people are going to use this like genuinely. Because like everything's going to happen.
Exactly.
Like all the people that you don't like, you're going to downvote everything that they do all the time.
Right.
Like I don't think this is actually going to help them, even if they were doing it in a more trying to make it actually better. It's not going to. People are just going to troll this feature.
Are they going to show the number of downvotes?
No. So
that's the thing. It's like from what I'm seeing here, the research that I was doing, they're not going to be open about this. It's not public whatsoever, and the only people that know are the people that work at Twitter, and clearly the people that we should not trust at all.
Yeah, I think they are going to use it for censorship because like if they were going to show publicly how many people like downvoted a certain reply, then I would say that it would actually exacerbate all the echo chambers that we have because everyone's everyone see this perception about this tweet when it's actually not it doesn't reflect reality. But yeah, I do think that because we've seen so much of in the past 5 years, Twitter banned people for no reason whatsoever, even though they haven't violated any community guidelines, and I feel like that's just going to be another way for them like they're mean, so it's like
I feel like if they showed downvotes, though, it would be like the new getting banned. Like Kangmin would be like, I'm the most downvoted Twitter person ever, and we'd all high five and think it's great.
Wait, so you don't even have access to your own downvotes? You can't even see your own?
No, we can throw that back up the screen too. That would be great. So they're talking about this aspect of downvotes are private. So right there in the middle, Steven says votes aren't public and won't be shared with the tweet author or anyone else.
What's the point?
Exactly. What's the point? Other than censorship, there's literally no other point to this then. So I'm very scared about when it comes to stuff like this because this is disgusting right here.
Because that's what they say in that bottom part too. Is like help make Twitter better. This is their build back better, people. This is exactly what it is. And these are probably the same people that are going to receive your downvotes. They're the ones that are basically ready to jump out the window because Elon Musk bought some shares.
Yep.
You think you can trust those people?
No
Do you think
way.
they have a hair dyeing station there? Where it's like, you want to show how radical you are? We got a new hair dyeing station. We got these pods that you can sleep in. We got a brand new lunch area. Dye your hair. Get crazy.
Goodness gracious.
Not to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Mine's a tangent. So
No,
we're gonna go
I'm
off
scared.
the rails
I'm just
here.
gonna say I am scared when it comes to this type of stuff because this is going to infiltrate into other aspects of social media, and I think they see what happened what's going on with Twitter, and they're probably going to implement it at their other Instagram and all these other type of social media. So I'm actually kind of nervous that this stuff will infiltrate into other
I would be
spaces.
too. Final take here.
It's not even a good take. So it's interesting. Even attempting to purchase Twitter, the type of people that would buy Teslas are these big leftist elites who love electric cars, people that work at Twitter. And inside the Twitter office, there's a lot of reporting coming out saying now they hate Elon Musk and will never buy a Tesla. So even just attempting to buy it to promote free speech, Elon's going to take a big hit for this, which shows that he really actually believes in what he thinks.
That's true.
And speaking of a big hit, happy 420, people. We got a special message from Charlie Kirk.
Transition, John Root Day.
Look at this. Charlie Kirk, the fearless leader. Smoking weed is bad for you. It could destroy your life. Don't do it.
What platform is this, since he's not allowed on Twitter?
How many downvotes did this get? Is that 39?
Oh, Telegram. Okay.
That's Telegram.
Gotcha.
How many downvotes do you think that would get on Twitter?
All of them.
Yeah,
all of the downvotes.
A billion. All right, don't do anything illegal, people, and listen to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah,
He's
bro.
spot on.
Yeah.
For sure, dude. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today is April 20th, 2022, Anno Domini. Today's headlines: Governor DeSantis threatening Disney's special status in Florida. Next, the DOJ plans to appeal the mask ruling because CDC says that masks are necessary for travel. Third, former MSNBC analyst Malcolm Nance is joining the fight in Ukraine, and it's amazing. And finally, former President Trump issues a dire warning on the Ukraine-Russia conflict and calls for peace. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily. Governor DeSantis. I absolutely love this story because it shows that conservatives are finally stepping up and understanding how the game is played. Governor DeSantis has called on the Florida legislature to target Disney's self-governing special status and is calling for termination. The law gives Disney special status and has been in place for 55 years. We got this via foxnews.com. He called a special session to dismantle special protections for Disney operating in Florida following the company's opposition to the parent rights bill, which we have dubbed the anti-grooming bill. DeSantis stated, "I am announcing today that we are expanding the call of what they are going to be considering. Yes, they will be considering the congressional map, but they will also be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District." What does this all mean? This is a 55-year-old state law that allows Disney to effectively govern itself on the grounds of Walt Disney World. Governor DeSantis said, "What would I say? As a matter of first principle is I don't support special privileges in the law just because a company is powerful and they've been able to wield a lot of power. I think that what's happened is that there's a lot of special privileges that are not justifiable, but because Disney has held so much sway, they were able to sustain a lot of special treatment over the years." The Reedy Creek Improvement Act was signed into law in May of 1967 by Governor Claude Kirk in response to lobbying efforts by Disney. The entertainment giant proposed building a recreation-oriented development on 25,000 acres of property in a remote area of Central Florida's Orange and Osceola counties, which consisted of 38.5 square miles of largely uninhabited pasture and swampland. I think everybody kind of gets that that's what Disney World is. They did not have those counties the services or resources needed to bring the project to life. So the state legislature, knowing that Disney World would be a major cash cow and a major national and also international draw for tourism, worked with Disney to establish this special district, a special taxing district that allows the company to act with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. Disney, of course, has been getting into this with Republicans in Florida and conservatives in Florida over the bill recently signed by DeSantis, which prohibits grooming and classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity with young children in classrooms. Disney, of course, has been attacking this. Recent polling shows that the bill is extremely popular among Florida voters. And it even includes, by the way, 52% of likely voters in the Democratic primary who say they oppose the kind of teaching that the bill prohibits. So if it, kind of a strange language there, what it's saying is that 52% of Democrats even support the bill. So what does this mean? Disney, if they want to continue embracing woke ideology, it seems fitting that they should be regulated by the government the same way as everyone else. Here's what it comes down to, folks. Companies do not rule us. And this has been a problem for the conservative movement for a long, long time. They've allowed themselves to be co-opted by woke corporations, and they'll sit back and say things like, well, companies can do whatever they want. Free business, free enterprise. That's what I'm all about. Companies can do whatever they want. Companies can do whatever they want. No, that's not how it works. Walt Disney World exists in Florida at the invitation of the government of Florida and the people of Florida. They get to be there because the people allow it. And the elected representatives of those people are then able to set laws that determine how their state is run. So just because some government, some corporation has quasi-governmental status, that doesn't mean they get to dictate the laws of the state of Florida. That is not how our system works, and it's never how our system was supposed to work. We have a representative government, we have a representative republic, we have a constitutional republic, and we have the idea of federalism. That means the local power stays with the local officials because they are closest to the people. And so I honestly could not praise more highly Governor DeSantis for turning this entire notion on its head and for embracing populism, standing up for the people against woke companies like Disney World, when he knows, by the way, Disney is obviously one of the most powerful media companies and media conglomerates in the world, right? They can do a whole lot against him, but he is waging this political battle with them because he knows he's in the right. Well, the Biden administration has announced that they are set to fight against the federal ruling that lifted mask mandates for travel. In a stunning move, and Zero Hedge has the story, soon to be filed under the completely lost in touch with America folder, the Biden administration is reportedly planning to appeal the ruling that lifted the COVID mask mandate on travel, just hours after most airlines and airports and ground transportation, including Lyft and Uber, last I checked, has stopped and dropped their mask rules. It was evident that this was coming earlier in the day after White House spokesperson Jen Psaki warned, and Xavier Becerra, Biden's health secretary, told reporters in Nevada that we are right now in the process of deciding, and we will likely appeal that ruling, but stay tuned. You are so on the wrong side of history on this one. Jonathan Turley, the great legislator, the great jurist, wrote some insight on the actual decision if it was made. The administration is going to have a hard time making this cat walk backwards. The cheering of passengers and pilots seemed as much a communication to the administration as it was a celebration. A large number of airlines immediately declared the mandate to be dead and unenforceable. It is like throwing a retirement party for an employee before they have decided to go. It's a tad awkward to express doubts when someone is showing you the door. That's why those cheering videos could have a greater impact on the White House than any CDC or DOJ recommendation. Keep in mind, the head of the CDC is appointed by the White House to begin with. So you've seen that, by the way, Biden has been doing this again and again, that President Biden, when he'll say, well, I'm deferring to the CDC, I'm deferring to the CDC, we're just deferring to the CDC, Jen Psaki, we're deferring to the CDC, right? You appointed the head of the CDC. You're telling the head of the CDC what your political priorities are. This is about the politics. This isn't always about the health. And when you're looking at this again, and keep in mind, this is about making masks on planes and public transportation optional. It's optional. If you are someone, look, I was on Tim Pool last night. We were talking about this. I spent a lot of time in Asia. I have spent a lot of time in Asia. I lived in China for about 2 years, spent time in South Korea, in Japan, in Vietnam for various roles with the Navy. It's normalized over there. Wearing a mask in Asia is considered normal if you feel sick, but not sick enough to stay home, right? So you wear a mask while you're in public, while you're on the subway, while you're on public transportation, while you're on trains, and trains are much more prevalent in Asia than they are in the United States. And so that's perfectly fine. If you're someone who's out there that wants to continue wearing a mask, no one is saying you can't, right? No one is saying that you don't have that right. You have the freedom of choice to wear that mask or not wear that mask. That's all anyone is saying. But people are sick of these mandates. They've been sick of them for a long time. And for this administration to continue to be pushing this, even in the midst of a contentious cycle, right? I'm absolutely dumbfounded. I can't believe it. It's like they have 33% approval right now, and they're trying to get rid of the final 33%. It's like, off you go. All right, how do we get rid? How do we get it all the way down to zero? I know. Let's fight to force people to keep wearing masks, to force children to keep having to wear masks. Keep in mind, imagine what these parents are telling their children again and again and again to be able to keep their masks on. All right, we don't do it. All right, we have not forced our kids to wear masks. We have not, Tanya Tay and myself, we simply do not require our kids to wear masks, right? We just don't think it's something that's a problem for them. And they're perfectly healthy. They've been perfectly healthy. And they're perfectly fine. In fact, AJ, our 1-year-old, he is a COVID baby in a sense because he was born in December of 2020. So, you do the math on that one, right? Folks, I have no idea why the Biden administration is pursuing this, but all I have to do is sit back and remind everybody that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Look, I just got to come out and say it. If there is one video that I have watched probably 100 times since I saw this thing drop, it's Malcolm Nance, the former MSNBC analyst who's joined the fight in Ukraine, or at least claims to have joined the fight in Ukraine. We can't actually find any evidence of him fighting anyone or doing anything. This video of him sitting in an interview with NBC, being interviewed. So he's now no longer an MSNBC contributor or an MSNBC analyst. He's off payroll, but now he's a foreign fighter who just happens to have lots of contacts with MSNBC. And so he's going on with Joy Reid. He's being interviewed by NBC, and there's a video of him, and it looks like that he's wearing some kind of yellow, rain jacket, winter jacket, and he's sitting on the side of the street in Lviv, And if you've seen Malcolm Nance at all, you know this guy is just, he is a total head case. He believes that he is, you know, some kind of savior to all mankind. He actually believes that he's fighting to, you know, liberate the world by going on the Joy Reid show. He's someone who I've documented for years. You know, we call him Stolen Valor Malcolm. And why do we do that? Because he goes around acting like he's some kind of top intelligence officer or, you know, served in special forces or doing all that stuff. No, he was a linguist. He was an enlisted Navy linguist, a senior chief, someone who, by the way, if you go to SOFREP, and if you guys know what SOFREP is, they are not, that's the SOF community, and they do not like Malcolm Nance. There's actually an article from SOFREP that says, opinion, a matter of honor and the fiction of Malcolm Nance. MSNBC analyst Malcolm Nance, a self-appointed counterterrorism, cryptology, intelligence, interrogation, and linguistics expert, has stated that all military persons who support President Trump are not honorable. It says, he left the Naval Security Group in disgrace, and we and our professional communities and associations generally have a good laugh at his self-promotion, exaggeration of performance and associations, and the pretense of his expertise. And all of this came to a head, if you're watching this video of him in Lviv yesterday, when he's just, you know, I guess he sees an airstrike that's coming in, looks like a couple of cruise missiles. And if you've been paying attention to Telegram or Twitter since the war started in Ukraine, you know, you've seen airstrikes, you know what they look like, certainly with cruise missiles. Have been used quite a bit in all of this. Malcolm Nance, it's like he's a kid in a candy store or something. I've never seen fast movers before. Wow, look at that. And he jumps up, pulls out his watch. He goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13. 13. They're moving south, southeast, southeast. Fire from the west from a ship, anti-ship, 500-pound bombs, cruise missiles. Those are cruise missiles. Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. Smoke. Where is he? Smoke. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Smoke. That's a cruise missile. Just so you know. I mean, it's literally just a guy who's spouting off military jargon from like 1980s movies. And you see in this minute 45, like I can't even believe this minute 45-second clip exists. It's actually a TikTok that NBC posted of him because he was live when this happens. And you see someone who has no actual expertise whatsoever. Oh, and the best part, and, you know, we're audio only today because of some technical reasons, but the people in the background of this clip, they're just walking around. They're walking around like it's, you know, another day. And, you know, obviously, unfortunately, the people of Ukraine have suffered from this extensively since the beginning of the war. But to them, you know, they're driving their cars around, they're walking around. They're not actually worried about this. And yet he's acting like this crazy level of insanity is going on. But the bottom line of it is, anybody who's had any kind of military experience, combat experience, ground combat experience would look at this guy and they'd say, this dude has no idea what he's talking about. This guy, this is his very first time ever seeing anything like this in his entire life. And so for him to run around, and what he's doing, by the way, and you see this a lot in armed conflicts, he's being a war tourist, right? And you've seen this not only in Ukraine with people, but you saw this in Syria, you saw this in Afghanistan, where people would come in, Iraq, people would come in and they'd take a bunch of selfies and they'd pick up, you know, a gun or an RPG or some kind of launcher, you know, take a picture. And that's actually the only time Pete Buttigieg, great example of this, right, in Afghanistan. And I'm not saying he was a war tourist. He was there as a financial network analyst. By the way, Pete Buttigieg, on his deployment to Afghanistan as a financial network analyst, he was sent over as an O3. He has that one picture of him holding I think it's an M4, standing on base on like the one hill on the side of base where everybody takes their selfies. And that's like his only picture of being in combat. Yet every time he talks about being in combat. But even though he was in as a financial network analyst, they actually kicked him out of the unit and they sent him to go drive around the flag officers. Now, if you've been in the military, you would understand that an O3, right? That's a captain in the Navy, or excuse me, that's a lieutenant in the Navy, captain in the Army. that an 03 is not somebody that you would ever have driving around the flag, right? That's like an E4 job. You know, hey, go drive the general around. Go pick up the general from the airport or something, right? So that means that the people in his unit, the same way the people in Malcolm Nance's unit didn't want him there, they did not want Pete Buttigieg in that unit. And they said, well, let's go find some busy work for the 03 to do because we don't actually have any work for him. You know, and people, you know, it's funny because I did serve, did a deployment to Guantanamo, did deployments in East Asia, and I'll talk about them if it makes sense or if it's, so connected to one of the topics that I'm getting into. But it's not something that I try to lean on and be one of these like professional veterans or something like that, because you've seen people do this. And, you know, quite frankly, I don't think it's something that I want to be. Yeah, I mean, not that I'm, not proud of my service and glad that I served, but at the same time, it's not something that I want to use as a credential to say, oh, I'm right about everything. Well, because look at my service, right? I served at Guantanamo, I did this and that with counterterrorism, I focused on CCP with East Asia, right? That's a knowledge base and that's an experience base that I draw on, but I wouldn't want that to ever be something that I was using as a cudgel for people to say, oh, well, you should believe me because look what I did in the past, or, oh, you should accept my argument because, I did such and such and such in the past, right? That's not how that works, but it is how that works with Buttigieg, and that certainly is how it works with Malcolm Nance. And Malcolm Nance is a guy who has just constantly lied about me directly in many cases. We're both actually from the Philadelphia area, but also just lied. This is the same guy who went on MSNBC and he was on Twitter talking about how Trump is working with Putin, and at one point he even said that ISIS should blow up Trump Tower, Istanbul. He said that should be a target for ISIS. So that's who Malcolm Nance is, right? This is a guy who, at 61 years old, wants desperately to be the center of attention, to have some modicum of credibility in the world. And so he's gone all the way over to a war zone. Now, he is on the furthest possible edge of the war zone. There's some pictures of him wearing kitted up, and it doesn't even look like he's got mags in his gun, or has he got a mag that's not seated right into his AK. It looks like he's got 9mm pouches, even though he's carrying an AK, or just a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense from this. But you know what, Malcolm? I will say this, man, that is the best content I've ever seen. And if there is any way to financially support you making more content like that video that I just saw out of Lviv, I would like to step up and donate money. I will advertise with you. I will promote you. I will straight up financially support this because I want as much of this content as I could possibly have. Right. So stay safe, Malcolm Nance. I hope for your sake, obviously, that you are safe and that you do come back safely. And man, that is just premium content, folks. Premium content. Our final story today might actually be our most consequential story. A new statement is out from former President Trump. Everyone will be dead. Trump issues dire warning on Ukraine-Russia conflict. Listen to this statement. I'm going to actually read it in full, because nobody else is talking like this about Russia and Ukraine. Statement begins. It doesn't make sense that Russia and Ukraine aren't sitting down and working out some kind of agreement. If they don't do it soon, there will be nothing left but death, destruction, and carnage. This is a war that never should have happened, but it did. The solution can never be as good as it would have been before the shooting started, but there is a solution, and it should be figured out now, not later when everyone is dead. I look at this thing, and doesn't that sound like something that the left used to actually believe in? Peace deals, treaties, negotiations. Former President Trump is the only person that's actually talking about peace in the Ukraine. The only one. And we know that he signed and got peace deals done for the entire 4 years he was president. The only president that we have had in a long time that did not start any new wars. And a lot of people have pointed out the timing of this. And a lot of people have also pointed out the fact that it would never have gotten to this point had he still been president, that he would have been able to come to some deal with this. And quite frankly, I've got to say I agree. I've really got to say I agree. There are too many people that are making too much money off of this thing for anyone to even be able to talk about peace or talk about having an actual peace deal or talk about what is best, what's in the best interests, right, of the innocent lives that are caught in the middle of this thing. So I say congratulations and kudos to you, Mr. President. This is exactly the right kind of policy forward. It's the exact kind of policy, by the way, that you used to hear come from Democrats and people on the left and liberals, the United Nations. Not a single one of these institutions that's supposedly set up to keep world peace is going to say a single thing about it. They want more bloodshed, they want more anger, they want more outrage, and they're emotionally manipulating people, emotionally exploiting the suffering of others, the suffering of innocents to make money. Whether it be arms deals, whether it be political donations, you're looking at money laundering. This was the same situation that went on in Afghanistan. And Julian Assange said it best. The goal is not to make the war winnable. The goal is to prolong the war so that it can be a longer money laundering operation. Well, that's all the time we have today. Human Events Daily. Remember our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you. Be good, be brief, be gone. Your homework for us. Share this out with just one of your normie friends, and then leave us your 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. What did we talk about today? Governor DeSantis threatening Disney's special status in Florida. Next, the DOJ plans to appeal the mask ruling if CDC says masks are unnecessary for travel. Former MSNBC analyst Malcolm Nance joining the fight in Ukraine. And finally, former President Trump issues a warning that he wants to see a peace deal between the Ukraine and Russia. But before we go, it's time for today's history break. Today, all the way back, 20 April 1945, the Battle of Berlin began. Marshal Zhukov, the Soviet army, went in to attack the city on Hitler's birthday. 10 days later, Hitler would commit suicide as the Soviet Union and Poland worked together to defeat the final stand of the Third Reich. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Where you gotta go? Manchester, the reason. It's just I want to know this for 24 years. I've been living like for a while.
Whoa, that was like a burp, dubstep, robot takeover, and curse on my entire family all in one. Theoretically, that should be enough internet for today.
Excuse me, I'm out of here right now.
But we're all scum peasants and we want more. So here we go. There is a major Libs of TikTok scandal, and it all twists and turns and connects to the morning toast. In the words of Bruno Mars, don't believe me, just watch. You're seeing a lot of leftist news outlets claiming that Judge Mizell, who struck down the mask mandate on planes this week, is unqualified, according to the American Bar Association. I'll tell you why that doesn't matter and what you can say to people who bring that up. There was a mini fire festival situation at Coachella, which is very juicy if you like seeing influencers suffer. And the same Hollywood who has been sucking the teat of Big Mama Pharma suddenly wants to make a new movie about how evil Big Pharma is. Our hellscape has just gotten bigger. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics. Until this week, you had to be really fluent in fringe influencer culture to know the name of Taylor Lorenz. I say that because she's a Washington Post journalist who has tried to cancel absolutely everyone, but mostly influencers. Her career has been built on covering the habits of young people, internet trends, and social media habits. Most importantly, though, stalking people that she determines have the wrong political views and attempting to ruin their lives. One of us could be next.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Now Taylor is trending again because she wrote an article doxing the girl who anonymously runs the Libs of TikTok account, even showing up to various homes of her family members. But before we get to that, first, let's establish this villain's origin story, shall we? Taylor Lorenz grew up in Old Greenwich, Connecticut, attending boarding school and eventually graduating college with a degree in political science. She has said that it was all the time that she spent on Tumblr in her 20s that started to fuel her interest in all things internet culture.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Taylor Lorenz has tried to destroy multiple people's lives because she disagrees with them politically. This entire episode could be about Taylor Lorenz if I wanted to do that, truly, but I'll just give you two notable names. Claudia and Jackie Oshry, hosts of the Morning Toast Pop Culture podcast. Why did she go after them? Because their mom is Pamela Geller, a controversial conservative activist.
The First Amendment protects all speech, not just ideas that we like, but ideas that we don't like, because then who would decide what's good and what's forbidden? The government? Violent rioters?
So back in 2018, Claudia and Jackie were hosting a podcast of a different name called The Morning Breath, and it was owned by Verizon. And Taylor Lorenz wrote an extensive hit piece about them for BuzzFeed. She dug up every anti-left or anti-Obama tweet the girls had ever made over the years and all the controversial things their mom had ever said.
She's a witch, I tells ya! Burn her! Burn her!
The article resulted in The Morning Breath being completely canceled. They were dropped by Verizon and really didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's why now we have The Morning Toast. Of course, toasters could argue that Taylor getting Claudia and Jackie fired was actually the best thing that could ever have happened, because now they own their own podcast network, Toast News Network, which is the home to several podcasts. Plus, they're able to work and live without the fear of being fired just because someone doesn't like their tweets.
You can do whatever you want. It's whatever.
But here's where things get weird. A few weeks ago, right before Taylor came after Libs of TikTok, she was crying on the news about being bullied herself online.
I've had to remove every single social tie. You feel like any little piece of information that gets out on you will be used by the worst people on the internet to destroy your life. And it's so isolating.
And terrifying.
It's horrifying.
This girl is a sociopath. I don't really know what else to say. If Taylor was worth her weight as a journalist at all, she would have seen that there is potential for a real story about how Libs of TikTok is completely changing culture. It's not the user's identity that matters. By the way, in Taylor's article about Libs of TikTok, she threw in that she was an Orthodox Jew. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Kind of weird, because the Oshry sisters are also Jewish. Anyway, what matters and what is actually interesting is that by just gathering a bunch of videos in one place that other people share themselves on the far left, Libs of TikTok has become one of the most important conservative activists in the country. That is the story. But because Taylor Lorenz is some sort of sadist, instead of asking questions to see why the content that Libs of TikTok posts resonates with people so much, she's just opting to try to destroy it instead. So Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, which is who Taylor writes for, and the Washington Post is doxing Libs of TikTok. The media and big tech are one big conglomerate racket, and we need some major reform and defamation lawsuits a la Covington Kid style to fix this.
A little fighting you. I like that.
Have you seen all the headlines like this one from Rolling Stone that says Trump-appointed judge deemed not qualified by Bar Association, voids mask mandate on planes, other travel? Is that true? Is Judge Mizell not qualified? Get ready for the fresh squeezed juice here. The ABA, or American Bar Association, is different from a bar association or state bar. The ABA is a private and voluntary organization that heavily leans left. They're the ones saying that she's alleged allegedly not qualified. Big whoop. They're gonna say that about every judge appointed by President Trump because it's President Trump. There's probably some amazing lawyers that aren't in the ABA for this reason. The fact that the left doesn't understand this says more about them than this judge, but liberal media outlets will run with this narrative the rest of the week and try to convince people that Judge Mizell isn't qualified. Now you know what to say back to them. Order in the damn court! I was very concerned the other day when a Gen Zer told me that she had never heard of the Fire Festival. Was that you?
Yes, that was me.
Wow.
I had to Google it.
Fired!
And I got to his office fully prepared to suck his.
Please, for the love of God, tell me cute conservatives know what Fire Festival is. This episode would be way too long if I have to explain the whole Fire Festival story and everything else we have to talk about. So if you don't know, there's 2 documentaries on it on Netflix and Hulu, and you can also Google it like a normal person. Val.
There's no way I can describe it other than, like, what the thinking.
But was it really poor planning that caused the Fire Fest to go down in flames?
And I blame the cheese sandwich for bringing down the festival.
The event's producer, Andy King, says it was the food's fault.
Many are saying that the Revolve Fest at Coachella last weekend was a baby Fire Festival. Revolve is the super mega popular online clothing company that carries all the trendiest brands. It's literally like my favorite store. And they are the pioneers of influencer marketing. In fact, influencers posting about Revolve and using affiliate links accounts for, I think, 75% of Revolve's annual revenue.
Here is a day in my life as a super famous influencer, and my job's a lot harder than you may think. The first thing I did this morning was wake up beautiful, as always. Then I spent the entire morning staring out of my floor-to-ceiling windows. Then it was time for makeup, which all I do is lip gloss. I'm not like other girls. Then it was time to work, so I sent out a few emails. Then I had to order Uber Eats because I had no food. And then I spent the rest of the day perfecting my TikTok dance moves so I can make some good content for you guys. Love you.
So when their yearly party that they throw for influencers right before Coachella turned into a full-blown disaster, it was pretty juicy. Revolve Fest is an event that's totally tailored to influencers so that they have cute places to take photos and fun things to post. Kendall Jenner's 818 Tequila has a booth, there's free merch, there's a huge carnival swing that Venmo sponsored, and tons of performances like Jack Harlow and Post Malone. But what ruined the experience for a ton of these influencers who were invited was a transportation disaster this year. Some influencers were allegedly standing in the scorching desert heat for up to 7 hours waiting to get in without food or water because attendees were supposed to be able to use a Revolve-provided shuttle service to get in and out of the festival.
Really?
All right, we got 2.
Oh my God.
These people are like, we haven't got one turn in 4 lines.
Revolve put out a statement and pretty much blamed everything on the fact that the reason people got left behind and abandoned was because of health guidelines and that they were just trying to abide by them because, you know, they deeply care about the safety of their guests, whatever. They said, "We sincerely apologize to all the guests who were impacted. We always strive to provide a great experience and we promise to do better." I mean, it's obviously an exaggeration for people to compare this transportation mishap to the Fire Festival, but I would kill to be a fly on the wall at the Revolve offices right now, hearing how they plan to really make it up to their influencers since, you know, the influencers are a massive part of their business. Speaking of being a fly on the wall, you know what else I'd like to listen in on? The totally hypocritical convos that producers and Hollywood execs are having about an upcoming film about Big Pharma and how evil it is and the role that it played in the opioid epidemic. Yeah, it's gonna be called Junction and is going to star Sophia Bush and Jamie Chung. Okay, first of all, how is this movie even getting made? For over 2 years now, these people have simped hard for Big Pharma and literally demanded that everyone trust them about jabs and juices. But now they want to come out with some artistic criticisms. I can't with these people. I never can with these people. But will I be watching because I need to fuel my obsession with all things Big Pharma talk and the opioid epidemic? You bet I will. Still salty though. In the meantime, watch Dope Sick on Hulu. That is very old homework that I gave you a long time ago. But if you're behind, you can do some extra credit by watching that.
There has never been anything to compare to the epidemic of OxyContin. It's not the drug that's the problem, it's the addicts who are abusing it.
I'm so sorry. I never prescribed that drug for you.
That company's been lying to everybody.
See if we can find some hard evidence against top executives.
The warning label will be changed. Sales will plummet. This could create an opportunity for us. Patients will be on it indefinitely.
The pop culture gods were definitely on our side today compared to yesterday. So much tea. Every time that you tap the heart on a Politics episode, it's a nice little thank you to me and the whole Politics team who put an episode together every day for you. Do you know what Fire Festival is, unlike my producer? Did you get the reference? Oh, and would me doing an episode of The Spillover that's all about the opioid epidemic interest you? Because it's something in the back of my mind that I've been wanting to do, but I've also been kind of like, I don't know if they would like it. So do me a favor, share this episode, hit the save button, let me know your thoughts on those things. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and that will be the last show until next Tuesday because I am going to Liberty University this week for a fashion show event with the Turning Point USA chapter there and pro-life clothing brand Culture of Life 1972, which is who I am wearing today. So hopefully I'll see you there. Get tickets if you can go. It is for a great cause. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics.
Clearly, Politics is best served visually, but you can also listen to Politics if you just want the audio. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, and more. Also, make sure that if you are listening to the podcast version, you leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget, subscribe to Politics on YouTube.